Hi guys, what's up? It's your girl Charla from That Girl Cooks Healthy. Today I'm going to show you how to make some apple crisp, also known as apple crumble. This variation contains no oats. The topping is made instead using almond flour, and it is also a recipe as well that is great for anybody that is grain free and also wants a low sugar content crumble or crisp. I cannot wait to show you guys how to make this, so let's get to it. So these are the ingredients that you're going to need. You're going to need some apples. So I have 6 large apples. The type of apples that I'm using are Gala. Gala are naturally sweet apples. So you want to use a variation of apples that are naturally sweet. So if you don't use Gala, another alternative is Pink Lady. So any of those two will work for this recipe because they're naturally sweet and perfect. You're also going to need some almond flour. So I have some almond flour, and this is going to be the topping, and this is going to replace where sometimes apple crisp recipes or apple crumble will use oats, so we're going to use almond flour instead. I also have some coconut sugar instead of raw cane sugar. Coconut sugar is not as sweet as raw cane sugar, so you have to keep that in mind for the end result. If you want your crisp or your crumble to be really sweet, then I do suggest using raw cane sugar instead. I have some chopped up pieces of vegan butter, and I have just a small amount of vegan butter separately for when we are sauteing the apples, a small amount of water, and I also have some nutmeg and cinnamon, 2 lots of cinnamon as well for the recipe. So the first thing that you need to do is to chop and peel the apples. So I've chopped the apple into really small pieces. You can put it in some water with some salt to stop it from browning, but I didn't bother to do that this time, but that does help it to stop it from browning. And then all you need to do is just to rinse it off before you begin to use it. So I have a large saucepan on the heat, so I have it on medium heat. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just get some of that vegan butter, put it into the saucepan, and I'm just going to allow it to melt. So it's going to take a few minutes to melt. Then once it melts, the next thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to add a small amount of water, followed by my coconut sugar and cinnamon, and then I'm going to add my apples. And what I want to do is I want to saute the apples. It's going to create like a type of syrup or liquid, should I say. So what I want to do is I want to saute the apples until they're really soft. So it's really important that you give this some time to soften. You'll notice as well that the color of the apples will change as well. It will start to take on a darker appearance, but you also want to just make sure that the apples are soft. You can just use a fork to prick the apples, and that's when you'll know that the apples are soft enough. So you just want to do that. It's going to take about maybe 10-15 minutes or so until the apples soften. So this is what the apples should look like once they're softened. As you can see now, the color of them is darker, and you also as well shouldn't have much liquid left in your pan. If you do, you can do one or two things. You can increase the heat, and then you can cook it off until it evaporates, or you can just put the apples through a colander to get rid of any excess liquid. But as you can see there, I don't have any excess liquid, sorry. And that's pretty much how the apple should look, with little to no liquid. and then we can move on to the next step. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to transfer the softened apples into my oven proof Pyrex. So it's a triangle shaped Pyrex that I'm using. I can't remember the dimensions off the top of my head, but I will put the link in the description box to the recipe so it will have it there. So just pour them out, and once you pour out the apple, the next thing you just need to do is you just need to make sure that it's completely flattened at the bottom of the Pyrex. So the next thing we need to do now is to prepare the topping. So I'm just going to pour the almond flour along with the coconut sugar and the cinnamon and the nutmeg into the same bowl. Then I'm just going to take a spoon and I'm going to mix it together so all of those ingredients are combined. You'll find as well that the topping will take on a darker color if you're using coconut sugar, which is perfectly normal, so just keep that in mind. So now that we've added the dry ingredients, I'm then going to add the cubes of the vegan butter to the bowl. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use just the pads of my hands to make a crumble type of topping. So you just want to just break down that butter with the flour until you get a crumble. As you can see, I've got a crumble type texture. And that is pretty much what you need to do in terms of making the topping. You might need to add more butter, or you might need to add a bit more almond flour depending on the texture. Only you can determine that when you're breaking it down, and that is pretty much what it should look like. So now that the topping is prepared, the next thing I'm just going to do now is just pour all of that topping using my hands, or sorry, using a spoon, not my hand. You can use your hand, but I'm using a spoon here to just put it on top of the apples. So you want to make sure that all of the apples have the topping. Just sprinkle it on nice and even, and just make sure that all of the apples have a bit of the topping. So now you need to just bake the apple crumble or crisp until it is golden. So this is what my apple crumble, or should I say crisp, looks like now that it's out the oven. It's fresh out of the oven. It smells amazing, and as you can see, it is nice and golden brown. It's a really simple recipe to make. Does not contain any type of grain, just using almond flour as the topping and a low amount of sugar, so it's not too much. I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please do not forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will catch you on the other side.